back to the Sad Dad Games podcast. I'm Shan.
I'm Eric.
I'm Tucker.
I'm Scott.
We're going to be finishing Death Stranding episodes 13 and 14, which is Sam Strand, quote unquote, and Lou. So perfect pairing of episodes there. And now we can finally talk about the game as a whole without the pretense of not knowing what happens. I feel like we were pretty good, but, we did know at least some of the bigger story beats, at least the three of us, and not Scott, because we had played it before, and we had to pretend that we didn't know things like Amelie is Bridget. That's a big deal.
What?
I didn't have to pretend very hard. Yeah, I forgot a lot of the game because it was too complicated for me. Also, at the top of the episode, I feel like I need to recognize why I sound a little bit like Kermit the Frog this week. I got my tonsils out earlier this week, and so my voice is a little weird. So for
Eric,
those of you listening,
Rainbow Connection for us.
Is there a Kermit in your throat?
But it would hurt a lot, so I'm not going to do it.
Can you say,
it's all right.
Eric the Frog here?
Eric the Frog here.
That's perfect.
I regret that. Yeah.
It's adorable.
Well, we all love it. Yeah. All right. So episode 13, Sam Strand. Now, he is known as Sam Porter, then Sam Bridges, and Sam Strand at different times. And sometimes it's an, is it eponym? Is that the... What is eponym? That word just came to me and I probably got it wrong.
I don't know what you're trying to say yet.
You just
A person after whom it discovered... No, that's the wrong term. But
like eponymous? Like when a word kind of, or a name kind of indicates the meaning as well, or...
An eponym is a person after whom a discovery, invention, place, etc. is named or thought to be named. So an eponymous location.
So Death Stranding was named after Sam Strand.
Yeah. Like Bridges is eponymous, I get. Well, no, not Bridges, because that's not named... Well, it's named after Bridget, so that's an eponymous name. Okay, so I got that wrong. I don't know why I went down that rabbit hole. Why do I put myself in these situations? Anyway, he's been known as those things, and this is like a reminder that he is Strand, which is, or at least going to delve into what makes him a Strand, which is Bridget's last name. So we're going to talk about that connection there. In the previous episode, we just saw Amelie approach Sam as a baby and say, "Do you want to go home? I know the way," and then push him back into the seam. And then we start episode 13. Now, you're a full-grown man baby at this point, and you are clothed. So that was just like, I don't know, a memory or something, or whatever they want to make that out to be. And
which is weird because, just from the memory standpoint, this really stood out to me because you are a little tiny baby. And I don't know how many people here remember when they were a little tiny baby. I don't.
What's your earliest memory?
Father is wearing a white coat. Mother bites the cord.
Stop the story forever.
Forever stop that story. It is disgusting and it doesn't count.
My earliest memory is, I think I was 3, maybe my 3rd birthday party, and I had this birthday cake that was in the shape of a lion, and my mom used the pull apart Twizzlers for the mane. Mm-hmm. That's my earliest memory, is that cake.
Mine was, I had just been shot in the stomach and I was washed up on the shore of a beach. And this lady in red, real femme fatale vibes, had approached me. And she
really about to hit home for
stomach.
you.
Yeah, this is very similar to my experience.
I was going to tell my
and then she tried to
but
drown
I feel like
me.
I can't now. Yeah.
No, I was 2 or 3, and I had climbed onto some computer furniture, an entertainment center of sorts, and I found a knife, a box cutter or something like that, and I accidentally cut myself, and I was crying over that. But so don't do that. But I learned the hard way.
Shan is the youngest emo ever recorded.
That's right.
Right out of the womb.
Yeah.
I think it was a Swiss Army knife, a red pocket knife. So.
Oh yeah, I was probably 4-ish, 4.5, something like that. And I used to wear this tiger costume constantly, all the time. I loved Winnie the Pooh as a kid, and so I would pretend that I was Tigger, and I would pounce people, and I'd go T-I-double-G-er, that spells Tigger. And I had like one of those, the little honey jars that looked like bears. I had one of those, and I was going to pounce him. And my mom like had the camcorder out and was making home videos. And I was trying really hard to get her attention and say, Mom, look at what I'm going to do. I'm going to pounce, like, Mom. Because at the time I was a middle child. And so I was really trying to get her attention. And that's my earliest memory.
My earliest memory sounds really boring compared to all of these. I just remember playing in the front room with some four-wheeler boy thing. I had a little dude sitting on top of it, and I was just pushing it across the room.
So it wasn't some traumatic moment. That's when my earliest memory began. But okay, good for you. I was born in trauma, and
you simply adopted trauma.
I was born in the darkness.
I was born in it, molded by it. I didn't see the light until I became. I don't remember how it ends.
I
didn't see the light until I was a man, and by then it was blinding.
So he does say that.
Yeah.
Then it was blinding to me. Okay, I was going to say that part, and I was like, that sounds really stupid. He can't say that, right?
Say what you like about that movie. It's a dumb movie. Like, it's not a very good movie. But Tom Hardy kind of rocks in
Tom
that movie.
Hardy kills it in that movie.
He's got the silly voice, but it sort of works. It's silly a lot of the times, but sometimes it really genuinely works and is unsettling. And Tom Hardy's just kind of awesome.
I actually think the movie's fantastic, and it just suffered like some bad last-minute direction.
It's got like 10 minutes of Batman in it. No. It's not a terrible movie, but it's not a great movie.
Is that the one with the terrible death at the end?
Yeah.
Terribly acted death at the end?
Marion Cotillard
so bad.
dies an unscrupulous death. No.
Yeah.
It's like the worst on-screen death that's ever happened.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I've only seen that one once. I don't know. I enjoyed it when I watched it, but that scene was really bad, and yeah.
It just wasn't the
just
Dark
can't go
Knight,
back.
and it's hard to go worse after you've done something perfect.
It's just so many.
It's like
plot
Shrek
holes.
3 after Shrek 2. It just it's just
Shrek
slow
2 was
decline.
perfect.
Shrek 2, what they should have just stopped. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, well, first of all, if they hadn't kept going, we wouldn't have had Puss in Boots.
That's true. The new Puss in Boots movie is kind of awesome.
Yeah, it's like the Dora Explorer movie, surprising, and you're like, oh, this is actually good.
Okay,
go watch the new Dora Explorer movie,
but
and you'll
Dora
be like, oh,
is
wow.
Dina in The Last of Us.
Wait, really? Oh man.
Yeah.
It's season 2. Well, that's gonna give the whole movie a different vibe. Yeah.
yeah, but she is less trying to teach you Spanish.
That way. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so you're on the Amelie's beach. That's we're 10 minutes in almost, but all right, you're on the beach. There's a red tide. It's like the tides of Omaha Beach, as Creed would say.
It's actually pretty sanitary.
Yeah, the afterbirth floats. It's really sanitary, Creed.
Very oaky.
Yeah, you see, it has an oaky afterbirth.
Yeah.
You see the Earth in the distance. I don't know. Is the Earth always there when we're on Amelie's beach? I don't remember it, or maybe it's like the Earth, and then slowly throughout this scene you see it voiding out, and I think it's a symbolic thing.
I don't know if you see the Earth, but it's very pronounced in this. I was gonna go back and get a chance to see if it's one of those things where it starts out way in the distance, and as the game progresses, comes closer and closer and closer. Because I feel like that would be something. But
okay.
But
you didn't do it. So.
It felt closer. Now. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
Okay. After running down this beach that you're forced to do, you eventually sit down and wait, and then you hear London Bridge again, and you see Amelie, and she's dressed in black. So this is like your vision at the beginning of the game is starting to come true, and that was a Doom's vision of the end of days. So is the end of days coming true? Maybe we need to start worrying a little bit more. Yeah, also similar to his vision, before I forget later on when we get to it, but like when Amelie's taking Sam as a BB and throwing him back in the water, that is also sort of represented or alluded to when Sam finds Lou in his vision and grabs him and embraces him. And it feels like he's kind of reaching out to this moment where he was also lost as a BB child, and he was brought back. I don't know if it's just some like echo of that moment.
There is some definite like visual similarities. I bet that at the very least Kojima wanted you to like for them to feel similar.
Well, Amelie says the last Stranding has already begun, but it's in Bridget's voice. And Sam's like, Amelie, is that you? I think I'm getting really good at the voice.
It's like we're right there. Yeah.
Yeah, Shan, you can just go as Norman Reedus to like Halloween anytime now. You're just nailing it.
I have exactly the same body type and personality.
Exactly.
It's all golden. Yeah.
It's a one
uncanny.
Yeah.
Just start growing the hair.
The Walking Dead. I could command an audience like him. I don't know why I'm doing this.
You
to
got
myself.
the patchy mustache.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Whole look.
I just have to grow my hair out.
I was gonna say you've got the almost beard that Norman Reedus does. So.
What I don't understand, this makes me mad, right? Because now Norman Reedus and Matt Damon and who was the other patchy face guy that you talked about last time?
Pedro
James
Pascal
Franco.
and James Franco.
Yeah, it's like Franco, Pedro Pascal. Like, why can they all pull off the patchy face and I can't do it? Like when I do it, I look like a little child.
I wonder if
but
it's because you
do.
have lighter hair. Your beard is a lighter color. If it was brown, maybe. Like
I think it's because they're manly men and I am not. And they're handsome in other ways that like it's like okay, they're just doing it confidently. When I do it, it's like this dummy hasn't shaved in a week. So what's his problem? Go shave.
Also, you sound like Pippin saying, "Oh, you're brave in other ways," to Faramir.
That's right. We have not gotten very far in 12 minutes.
No, not at all.
probably should.
All right. So anyway, this is Amelie, but using Bridget's voice. And so this is where we start to see the revelation that's like, oh, they're really the same people. And so fantastic the way that he directed this moment to get you connecting the dots on your own before it's just handed to you. So she says, you're too late. What took you so long? You still don't know who I am, do you? And turns around and she's wearing what we had thought was Die Hardman's mask, but we see later that Bridget is the first one to have worn this mask when she was president, because it was right after the Manhattan Project where she had assumed presidency. And she's back to wearing the kipu because Higgs is dead, I guess.
Well, that makes sense. I didn't notice
she could
that.
have gotten the kipu back from him. I didn't notice. Did Sam take it back from him? Did Fragile take it back from him? Maybe Amelie just has the power to do to control objects on her beach. Maybe she's like, oh, he's dead now, so this is mine again.
Yeah, I mean, we see many times that Higgs can disappear things through space. I mean, that's also what Fragile does, right? But with people. All right, Sam, I knew you'd come back, and it shows Bridget on her deathbed, similar to the beginning of the game, and she lunges at him, but she doesn't have the ceruleum pooling around her stomach. They keep removing that whenever they do these flashes to this moment. But Bridget is wearing that Die Hardman mask, and she says, "I love you, Sam." Also, I can do Bridget's voice perfectly.
Yeah.
Perfect.
But at this moment, she's suddenly not wearing the mask again. So it's like, okay, when she's wearing it, that's when she was hiding parts of her. But they took off the mask when she says, "I love you," because it's to say, I'm not lying about this, even though I was lying about my person, who I was at that moment.
Okay.
Is that right? Okay. All right, then the camera whips around. It's done this with Higgs, and it's done it with I don't know, they've done it a few times, but changing who it is. Kojima really likes this method. But the camera whips around and it's actually Amelie, and she collapses and disappears after saying, "I'll be waiting for you on the beach," but with a double voice of also being Bridget's voice, indicating that they are technically the same person. That also explains the beginning when Bridget was dying, and she says, "I'll be waiting for you on the beach," and it has a flash to Amelie's face, because it's actually the same person, and it's really Amelie who will be waiting, not Bridget.
Right.
Yeah. All right, I've been waiting for you right here ever since, and she has the mask and the gun, and you were supposed to stop me. She's yeah, so Sam is just finally cluing in. Yeah, so that's where she explains that Amelie is nowhere and her daughter Samantha America Strand doesn't exist. She's worn a mask so long and she's happy to finally remove it, and she says they're both a part of her. So we finally get some clarity around this. Okay, Scott, your first time, did you clue in at all before this moment, or did you need this moment to elucidate the mechanics of them being the same person?
It wasn't clear. The mechanics weren't clear, but I had kind of started to put it together, so it wasn't shocking, but I wasn't sure how it worked. So
Yeah,
it was
it's
good
very
to
confusing.
hear like how the lore behind it and how they were the same person. So that was good. But I wasn't like, holy cow, they're the same person. It's like, oh, okay, I guess that actually kind of makes sense with everything that we've experienced so far.
Yeah.
Is exposition the right word for this if it's already happened? I guess it's really not exposition.
It's exposition because they're explaining something.
Okay. But yeah, there's a lot in this that even this time through, I caught myself having to like pause and like repeat it back in my head to like see if I actually understand it, because it's just so densely, in my opinion, it's the most densely packed lore section in all these like monologues that these people are doing. There's just so much, yeah, and it's just each sentence you could digest for hours.
Right.
Yeah, I remember the first time playing through this game thinking that it was like there was some lore set up at the beginning and then there was a lot of nothing in the middle. And then at the end, it's like it's like 2 hours basically of just like, here's the plot. And then this time playing through, I realized that there was a lot more lore and stuff in between that I hadn't initially realized until I like sat and listened and paid attention to what was going on. Because the first time it felt like the pacing was really weird. Like there was a big stretch of nothing in the middle of the game. And then just a huge lore dump at the end to tie everything in a nice bow. And so I really enjoyed the game, but the pacing felt weird to me. And then this time, really paying attention, I didn't feel that way. I felt like it was really well paced. I was getting answers to questions as I went along and getting new questions that were all kind of answered in a satisfying way towards the end. So a lot bigger fan this time around of how the game was paced.
Yeah. And it's so easy to like glaze over the subtleties of the mechanics that are sprinkled throughout the story if you're just consuming it on your own. And this time it was really satisfying to break it down week by week with all of you to understand how he's developing the structure of it, like the story, to reveal the mechanics. It was incredibly rewarding.
So I'm curious how much you guys remembered from your first playthrough. Like how long and how much have you had to pretend that you didn't remember during these recordings? And what did you remember?
All right, for me, it was I knew like the moments that I remember very vividly. Fragile running out in the rain, the time fall. That's a very powerful moment. Then Higgs and Amelie working together. I didn't remember exactly what the motivation was, but I knew that there was intentional misdirection there. And obviously, you know about the whole Cliff being the father. You know about Lou coming back at the end, and then Amelie being Bridget. So like the biggest reveals were all embedded inside of me, but I couldn't remember almost anything else.
Did you remember anything about like Sam's blood being kind of vital and all of that? Okay.
Yeah. I didn't remember the explanation of how it worked, but I mean, I'm throwing blood bombs all throughout the game.
Okay.
So yeah, regular, consistent mechanics were easy to remember as well.
Yeah,
cool.
I'd say that I remembered a little bit less. The main thing that I remembered was that Bridget and Amelie were the same person, and then a lot of the rest of the minutia of the plot just kind of slipped out of my brain because it was too complicated for me to like latch onto and pay attention while I was playing.
Amelie and Bridget being the same person, that was pretty solid for me. I remembered like halfway through the game that Unger was Sam's dad, and that was like
halfway through.
Halfway through the game, mind blowing again. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, and then it just makes those encounters
completely
so
forgot
much
that
different.
until
Yeah.
I played this last
That's
part.
the whole point of the game.
Yeah. It's a great twist at the end.
That's really fun for you to rediscover because it's so powerful.
And then
how long ago did you?
Oh, go ahead, Eric. Yeah.
I played it 2021, like months after the pandemic had started. So I didn't play it right when it was released, but I jumped on it late. But while I think in the midst of lockdowns and stuff.
Yeah, and I played it just a little after. I played it after Shan, but not a lot after.
I got them too to play it, and it's very important if you want to enjoy this game to have exactly the right expectations. So I had to tell them it's not about the mechanics, it's about the story. and that the fragile episode is going to eat into your soul a little bit because of how long it is.
Yeah, you prepped me well. I was just curious because I wonder how much I'll remember in 4 years.
Better be all of it after 12 plus hours of discussion.
You can also listen to this podcast again.
I've never played a game like this before. Not just the type of game, but also playing it with the intention to discuss it and dissect it every week. And take copious notes. And so I'm wondering if that's actually going to help me retain more of the important story beats, or if my aging brain is still just going to let a lot of these details slip.
I think it'll help with your memory for sure. Like The Last of Us, how we broke all of those down for a couple months. Like I remember every beat perfectly now, and I had played them a couple times before, and I don't remember them ever as vividly as I do now.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I've been, as we're recording this, The Last of Us Season 2 is airing, and I've been watching it with my little brother. And he brought up a couple of things. He's like, oh man, in the game they do this. I'm like, no, they don't. And he was like, yeah, they do the blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no. And I pulled out my notes, and I was like,
you're wrong.
He's like, you don't get to challenge me on this. I talked about it for so many hours. I know more than you about this.
Yeah. I don't think there are almost any other better subject matter experts on those games than us at this point.
We're pretty high on the list, at least. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a bold claim.
It's
I honestly think so.
Craig Mazin, us.
Yeah.
No, it's like
we're the best.
I straight up had this revelation during the second game of while we were talking, I was like, oh, this is symbolic of such and such. And then I looked it up on the internet last week because we're getting to that episode in the show. And I was and I realized only one other person made the connection and made a video about it. I was like, do we really know the game this well? It was a connection that I don't think anybody talks about or understands. And Eric's brother made that very clear by saying they should change it to
when I play the games when I play the games and I watch your videos, I'll see. I'll ask and follow up with you guys.
You'll know because when we say it, we can't stop gushing about how clever we think we are for having thought of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And whether I pick up on it myself or not, I will claim that I did.
Yeah.
Tucker, you should look into how many people have realized that the skeleton soldiers are really Unger's team. I bet you'll find nobody that knows that. But it's 100% has to be.
Well, it seems so obvious now. It's of course they are. Who else would they be?
Exactly. All right. Well, so that's why I think we're experts. I think we're really high on the list. All right. So back to Amelie though. She's gonna kind of sprinkle in the story as this continues, but essentially she was born as the Extinction entity, but she had her Han caught as a normal person, and I assume she had that umbilical cord her entire life, just kind of dangling. That black one.
Yeah.
But she had started to try to pull away from from causing the last stranding, and didn't want to live out that reality that she was having visions of. And so she tried to escape it. She wanted to connect the chiral network because she thought, well, if I can she realized that the beach was connected to death, and if it contained all death at some point, that she could use all of that information and data and reach beyond the cosmos to be able to tie together enough information to be able to prevent the last stranding. And that's why she wanted to sacrifice a bunch of these BBs along the way to connect to the knot, because she desperately wanted to find out how to connect to the beach in that way and have a fluid conversation stream with the data that it held. And since she was fighting against all of that at around age 20, she thinks that maybe the importance of her becoming the extinction entity, the beach started to retaliate against her for fighting against it, and that's what possibly gave her uterine cancer. I think that might also be tied to her umbilical cord being near there, but that they didn't say that, and that's just a guess. Anyway, yeah, because the umbilical cord and like the uterus being the thing that gives life to another child, like all of this is kind of connected. I know that the umbilical cord is not connected to a uterus, but I don't know. I'm kind of reaching here. Anyway, at age 20, she slipped into a sort of coma while she was undergoing surgery, and that caused her Ha and Ka to more firmly separate from each other, and they severed the connection, but they both existed at the same time. So she wasn't dead as her Ha, but her Ka was now a separate entity. And because of this happening at age 20, it caused Amelie's age to diverge, because she was 100% connected to the beach where time doesn't pass. And Bridget continued on her life. And so they eventually had to come up with a cover story to say that that Amelie was her daughter and that she was really sick, so you couldn't see her in person. You had to see her through hologram. And yeah, developed a whole cover story to be able to explain away what's going on here.
So, question about them being separated when she was 20. Is her being an extinction entity, is that what made that possible for the Ha and the Ka to be separated, but for Ha to continue living?
Yeah, her umbilical cord was still tied to the beach, but she no longer had her Ka inside of her Ha. Mm-hmm. So she is tethered to the beach, but it could just be an extinction entity exception, because Mama, yes, does have her Ka removed, and then she supplements that with her BB's Ka acting as her soul. But when that soul leaves, she doesn't have a life, and she ends up passing away.
Right.
Whereas Deadman never had a Ka, and his cells were brought to life in a different way.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it could be hand waving. It could be because she's an extinction entity. I thought it was because, like, even though she was actually separated, her umbilical cord as an extinction entity allowed her to still be connected to the beach and give her life. I wasn't sure about that.
I would go with that. That makes sense to me of why, and it kind of fits in the same mechanics that Mama was using her baby as that connection. So she has a connection to the beach at all times. She never actually moves on.
Mm-hmm.
So she's just, her Ka is in this limbo forever, which is Amelie, and so it's never actually dies.
Okay.
Her Ka is not actually always. Yeah, her Ka is gone, but she's still connected to her Ka via her umbilical cord.
Okay.
But she does slowly die after this moment, and then dies. For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess she had the cancer when she was 20, and now she's like, what, 60, 70 or something. So, no, she wouldn't be that old. Let's see, she was around 20 when they were doing the Manhattan Project and then the follow-up project with Cliff. And no, that was after. So she had already aged like another decade or something.
And then Sam is presumably in his like mid to late-ish 30s, so she's probably like 60-ish, 60, somewhere in her 60s, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so let's continue with how they explain this. She says Amelie and Bridget are just names, and she then says Sam has two choices at this moment and points the gun at him. Really fun way to just get his attention as if she didn't already have it. Yeah, so she says it, like, what is one of the options to kill me? And she's like, no, but you would go straight to the afterlife if you were killed here. But no, she says killing him would be a mistake, and she knows better than anyone. Why? Because she accidentally killed him once. Yeah,
more on that later, yeah.
Did any of you think about why did she have to point the gun at him? It was just for effect.
Yeah, that was really weird. What's the most exciting thing that can happen? Yeah. Someone has a gun.
Someone has a gun. She went to Michael Scott's improv.
Michael Scott.
Yeah.
Well, what are you doing? He says he can't show it to me, but he has a gun.
Just talk. Shut up.
What a great episode.
She says the last stranding has already begun. A seam has formed from my beach. So I wasn't sure about this, if she had a seam or not. But yeah, I guess that makes sense. She would have a seam because she was connected to her at one point. But she says a seam has formed from my beach and the beaches of every soul in America. So her beach, so soon it'll be inundated by antimatter starting at her beach, and this would culminate in essentially a big bang that would wipe out all life. Fantastic. But her seam, I'm sure, is the biggest seam. As I had talked about, I think that's why she receives full color and others just get the blue spectrum, because we also see when the cosmic whale appears, more light escapes our world because more seams are converging, causing that realm to open up and have light bleed out. So there is something to having a larger seam and more chiralium opening that portal, causing more light to get away. Maybe, yeah. All right, so she says the first choice is to do nothing and bear witness to the end with Amelie. Now, this I didn't catch at first, but I think she literally needs him at the beach in order to allow this to happen, because it's restoring balance to the life-death imbalance that she caused by repatriating him. So she needs him physically there to restore the balance to allow that to progress. Mm-hmm. I didn't catch it, and it's it's subtle, and they just kind of allude to it. All right, she says the second choice is the beaches are brought together in an expanding network, but this also connected them to her beach. She opened the gates to the other side. He can't stop it, but can stop it from spreading by cutting off her beach and prevent the last stranding. And yeah, I wrote that her beach is doomed. I don't know why I wrote that. That's not even that funny. But
I'm sure you felt clever when you wrote it, though, so thank you for sharing it.
Yeah, it was only a couple hours ago that I wrote it, and I already hate it, but
I disagree. I think it's hilarious.
So she would continue living because as an extinction entity, she has to make the last stranding happen, but she'll be cut off, so she won't be able to actually make it happen. But extinction would still be inevitable, even if she doesn't force it to happen. It is the entropy of life that would cause it to happen, essentially. Anyway, this is fantastic, right? Because Amelie was his first true connection in the world. We see him as a kid, and he's alone, he's isolated, he's having nightmares because of dooms, and that's when she gives him the Dreamcatcher. So now we know that literally was to keep away the nightmare that he was having. So I was right about that. But yeah, so she needed to preserve his life, and I think she gave him the Dreamcatcher to kind of ward off those dooms nightmares, because people who have them become suicidal, and she's like, I need to keep this kid alive with my life, so I'm going to protect him from the worst of it until he's older. I thought that was cool. But yeah, so Amelie was his first connection, his first true human, to human love, and now he has formed a lot of bonds and connections with anonymous people, new people that he's just met, and he has to decide, this is a trolley problem, right? He has to decide, is the whole of them persisting, who he's known for a shorter time, more important than the love and connection of the individual he found in Amelie. And it's a fantastic growth of character, but it's tragic.
It really is. And I think one of the reasons that makes Sam okay with taking the course that he does is that Amelie is telling him, like, you know what to do. Like, she's basically saying, like, do the right thing. She's giving him permission to leave her behind and to save everyone else, basically. Which is, which is, I think, what makes Sam able to emotionally deal with and accept what this choice means.
All right, so how many times did you try to shoot Amelie before you remembered what you were supposed to do?
This time through
for your first time.
countless times.
I emptied the revolver.
Yeah.
I think try at least a couple times, yeah.
For me, it was twice this time, but I remember the first time, I think I tried like 10 plus times, and I was like, what the heck is this game?
Yeah.
Is this the end of the game?
What do
is
I
just
do?
This
Did I beat it? Yeah.
Did I win the
Yeah,
game?
I remember playing it thinking, I'm like, okay, is this some like weird bug that I'm encountering that's not supposed to happen, and now my game is soft locked and I can't progress? That wasn't the case.
Nope,
Yeah.
just Kojima messing with us.
Yeah.
Also, I realized that they actually foreshadow that you can't shoot her, because when John McClane is on the beach, he has the revolver and he tries to shoot Bridget, and it shoots right through her body, and then she points off to the water and Cliff emerges from it. So we already know she can't be shot. But
If you're paying attention, you know. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And if you know that they're the same person now, you have about 1 minute to figure out that you can't shoot her before it asks you to shoot her. So I think she knows she can't die. I thought maybe there was a mechanic where, like, technically she could because of the hemetic rounds, but it's more like she knew that was a false choice, and that he wouldn't have actually done it because he's ready to save humanity over her. I don't know that she expected him to run out and hug her, but it was a great choice on his end. It was also the only choice that you're actually allowed to, perform.
Yeah.
It took so long to figure that out.
Yeah, I had hints turned on. Yeah, there's an option to have hints, and a hint popped up, and it's like, holster your gun and approach Amelie, and so that kind of gave it away for me.
Spoiler alert.
Just say that's not even a hint. That's just telling me what to do. Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
If you try to shoot her, she eventually starts crying blood and then causes a void out of humanity. So the crying blood was a nice touch.
Wrong choice. Yeah.
But yeah, Sam runs up and says, "I'm here for you always, like you were for me." Since he was a kid, she was always there to make him not feel alone. And that's something he's suffered with his entire life, is isolation.
Also, I think it's really interesting here is just how Sam is so close to Amelie, but despises Bridget. I think it's just a really interesting dynamic. Now that we know they are the same person, it's the relationship he has is with the Ka and not the Ha. And I think there's some lesson in there for us of, connecting to the Ka is better than the Ha. As we try to expand our connections as human beings, it's the cliche of not judging a book by its cover. It's okay to not like the cover, but when you dig deeper into the pages, that's when you find real connection.
Clip it, ship it.
Clip it, ship it. YouTube short, done.
Yeah. He has aphantphasmophobia, and he initiates this hug. He needs it. I love that. And it's similar to whenever Cliff is hugging him during a flashback. It seems like Kojima goes out of his way to explain that hugs are more than just hugs, that's when your chiral resonance starts to sync up with somebody else, is that deep actual physical connection that you're expressing for each other. Also, I'm still going through Kojima's book, The Creative Gene, and he goes into great length about explaining that even though he's always had family and friends, his father passed away when he was like, I don't know, 13 or something like that. And I don't know if it was that specifically, but just throughout his whole life, he was always crippled by isolation, even when he was surrounded by people. And that it took until he read a story that explained exactly how he was feeling, and he realized he had a connection with this author who understood how he felt, and that even though he wasn't with that person, he was connected to other people that felt the same way he did. And that started him on a road of transformation where he realized, where he says he's cured of this pain that he felt for decades. And that also while he was making Metal Gear Solid, he realized like everybody's experiencing this story separately but together. And in that way, we're connected. So this whole message of connection, especially in Death Stranding, but specifically how he wrote Sam, seems to be incredibly resonant with his actual pain as a human being, and trying to figure out how to connect. And once he does, realizing that's the most important thing that you can have in life. And that's why he had to make a game about it.
I kind of love that he's been sneaky, like sneakily having themes of connection and feeling themes of connection in past games. And then when he made Death Stranding, was finally able to like put it all out into the world.
He's able to express how important it is, and try to evangelize that thought, but also create a game wherein you are literally forced to connect to people you don't know that are experiencing the same thing. He made it into a mechanic. I think that's beautiful. All right, so anybody else want to share anything on that? We'll get into that more in the next episode when we dig into themes, but it feels really important to me because when we started this podcast, I was at the point where I was talking to somebody once every month or two. I wasn't even talking to Eric or Tucker anymore. And now, flash forward to not a full year later, but like now we're going out of our way to meet new people. It seems to be like a deep-seated value that I have to talk to people, even if I'll never see them again or something. It's like I actually understand this, and I feel like I've gone through a similar journey as Sam in understanding the importance after experiencing it. Anyway, we'll get
Shane
into
is
that
pragmatically becoming an extrovert.
It's how I explained it to Tucker. I find myself to be an deeply pragmatic person, but to like rationalize myself into being an extrovert is like the ultimate sacrifice of part of my character, and supplementing it for something else, because I understand it's actually more important than my introversion. That's weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So you have another flashback to Sam, and it's as him as a kid, and he's crying. And so Amelie's talked about how like he was constantly alone. He was and he was having these nightmares. And also, this is where she gives him the Dreamcatcher. And I found out it's more than just a Dreamcatcher. It's also an allusion to the Eye of Horus, that Egyptian motif of like that eye hieroglyph. And that's supposed, because it has like the Chiralium crystal that's in the center of it, which, you know, I think Dreamcatchers have something, but like he kind of designed it to look like that, right? In addition to being a Dreamcatcher. So just layers of meaning. And the Eye of Horus is a symbol of protection from evil, and it's supposed to unite the divided.
Nice.
So similar to Dreamcatcher.
I think that's the plot of Egyptian Gods. What's that terrible movie with?
I don't know what movie you're talking about.
Horus. Yeah, Horus is like this demigod living amongst humans, and they're like just normal proportioned humans, just a little bit bigger. Oh, I have no idea. It's a terrible movie. It has Gerard Butler in it. It was part of Gerard Butler's films after 300, where he got famous, and then was just Gerard Butler in all these different movies, and then the world got tired of it. I'm gonna find this movie.
Didn't I just see? Is Gerard Butler going to be in the live action How to Train Your Dragon? I haven't seen him in anything for a long time, and so I didn't recognize him at first.
No, he is. Yeah, I saw the trailer. YouTube really wants me to watch that movie because every time I turn on, it's like, do you want to see a trailer for this again? So, yes, that is him.
I'm all the way done with live action remakes. Create new property, please.
It is Gods of Egypt. If you want to waste, how long is this movie? Like 2.5 hours. It's got a 14% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, hot dang!
Yeah,
about as low as you can get.
That's rough.
Shan, do you remember when we were in college and I was watching? Oh, what's that bowling movie with Bill Murray?
Oh my gosh! It is. Oh,
Is it Kingpin? Is that what it is?
I think it's Kingpin. It also has what's his face from Severance and stuff. We just talked about him so much. John Turturro.
Yeah.
And how? Oh, brother, why are you? He's in Kingpin, and he's a straight up creep. Like he's a sex pervert.
He's got creep face. You know, I can see that. He's got.
He
creep
does it
face
so well. It's so funny.
Anyway, so when I was watching this movie, it was like when I was watching Kingpin, I just got too far into it to turn around. And it's like, I just got to finish it now. And then it ended up being another hour and a half long. And so
we already wasted an hour. Might as well waste another.
Yeah. Go watch
Doesn't
it.
it have like a cult
terrible.
following? Like nobody should like that movie. I wonder if I would like it differently now, because is it like a Coen brother or anything like that type of movie?
I don't think so.
Then
Okay.
what is it that
Now
makes
we're
people
going-
like it? It's not. I'm sure it's not a Coen brother movie. It's nothing at all like.
No.
But what is it that makes it so popular?
What
I
movie
think
is
it's
this
Bill
again?
Murray is a
You
Kingpin.
guys still talk about
Oh,
Kingpin?
Kingpin.
Yeah, it is such a dumb movie.
Do you need Scott and I for this? Can we just go? You and Tucker are just going to talk
No,
about
this
Kingpin?
is not.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
interesting.
Woody
Nobody's
Harrel-
going to watch
yeah.
this movie. Nobody should.
Woody Harrelson is the main character, and he has a hook for a hand.
Of course.
Chris Elliott's in it. I didn't realize that. Let's go watch this movie.
Okay,
Again.
let's
Let's spend more time talking about this. Yeah.
Yeah, as for like all of the Egyptian, like Ha, Ka, Eye of Horus, and also Scott, you had found some interesting information, or you saw some fun stuff about Egyptian lore in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to remember that now.
Well, it's the Higgs hideout.
That's right. Yeah, the Higgs hideout had like that bust, the head of a pharaoh. I was just kind of hanging out there.
I think you mentioned that after we stopped recording last time. Maybe go over just briefly the pizza delivery in the Higgs hideout. Did we?
Oh yeah, we
recorded
didn't
that.
talk about that. Yeah. So the guy Peter Englert, who is asking for pizzas, that's Higgs, and he reveals that at the very end, you can go to his little prepper hideout thing, and the doors open. You can go downstairs, and it's just like a crazy person place with pictures and strings and all sorts
Looking
of
for Pepe
weird
Sylvia.
messages. Yeah, it looks just like that. There's a few interesting things on there. There's like a skull from, what was it? I remember looking it up. It's like
Was it
Homo
Neanderthal
Habus?
skull or something?
It's like Homo Habus or something. It was like one of the very first Homo species, like the very first one.
Yeah.
That's in that. I don't know what that hierarchical the designation is, like where it is, but it was the first Homo whatever. And then there's also like the pharaoh thing.
We're so immature. I've been biting my tongue. It is like there's a gay joke in there somewhere, but I'm too afraid to make it. Like,
Well, yeah. I'm coming out hetero. Yeah. I don't know how to make it a tasteful joke about it, but yeah, we were all thinking about it.
Yeah.
So we just get
yeah,
canceled. Is that what just happened? Yeah.
No, because we respect it. We just don't know how to joke about it the correct way, if there is such a thing. Anyway, so I was belaboring this. Like, why would he have this bust of a pharaoh or whatever? Like, he stole it out of a museum in one of the not cities.
This belongs in a museum.
Yeah,
He pulled a
would
last
get
man
punched
on
in the
Earth.
face by indie for sure.
Isn't Last Day on Earth where it's Will Forte? He just goes around like the country and just has like, it was like the Constitution is like bath towel and yeah.
He has like a dinosaur head in his house.
Yeah.
Because why not?
Yeah.
That's definitely what I would do. But yeah, so I realized that like his whole thing about being the Higgs particle, being a god, he thought of himself as like a pharaoh, a god incarnate on Earth. And that's why he does his makeup with like those, it's like an Eye of Horus type thing. And he also wears the hood like a pharaoh. And so he was using it for inspiration on how to do his makeup. And
Higgs makeup tutorial on chiral YouTube. Yeah.
I also found out that like, I think we thought that the formula that he had tattooed on his head, I thought that was the formula for the chiral network. It was actually part of the Higgs formula for
the Higgs boson.
The Higgs boson, exactly. So that it's like the same math symbols. So I thought they were all the same thing. Or maybe the Higgs boson was a part of the formula for the chiral network. Maybe that's why they're connected.
Maybe.
I could see that. Right. So, I thought this was interesting. She grants dooms to people, but he has dooms uncontrollably. I think this is related to him being a repatriate because she says when she repatriated him, that's what allowed dooms to seep into the world and everybody started having them. So maybe he can't run away from it the way that she can grant and give it to other people. And that's why he needed the Dreamcatcher to hide from the worst of it.
Yeah, I thought that was a really interesting... I love the thought of her first repatriation of Sam when he was a baby is the thing that kind of started all of the weirdness with dooms and with the beaches seeping together and things like that. Was kind of the beginning of all of it, was because she messed with the natural order of how beaches connect with the living world.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, she said she would have so many dreams of the future. She didn't know which ones to trust, so she shared them with everyone else. And Sam was the one that connected the dots, but she needed to buy him time because he needs time and perspective to make sense of all of these visions. And time didn't mean anything to her anyway. And so she just showed him the choices, and he chose which ones to connect and find the common strand that connected all of it. So this felt like, a parallel thing to him connecting the UCA and having all of these disparate visions and then finding a strand that connects all of it. It's like how Hartman describes everything as a cardiovascular system. it's what she knows.
Yeah.
So his revelation, our nightmares are your dreams. I do love that. Not how I said it specifically, although it was uncanny.
Spot on, as always.
Yeah, so how he did it was living one day at a time. This is kind of a conflict of his character because he lived one day at a time because he was trying to escape. But then when he saw other people and how they lived for hope of tomorrow. And that's actually growth that he has to go through. So he doesn't just live one day at a time. He gets to the point where he has to start living for tomorrow. And I didn't know if there was really a difference in what she's explaining here. All right, so she says the gun won't help him here, but it still has a role to play, as she just like at the end of Titanic,
and then throws it in the water. Yeah.
at the end of Titanic, when the old lady's like, oh, and drops the necklace in the water. Yeah. She's like, you need this. Bye.
Rude.
But it's because she's throwing it through her seam so that it falls onto his beach. So she's just sending it through so he doesn't have to take it with him. Huh. Yeah. I wonder if it's because he couldn't choose, because it's not important to him, he couldn't travel with it, so she had to send it for him.
That makes sense, because you can only bring things through the seam that are important to you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's so subtle, but did he really think of every detail? Did he really do it?
Apparently.
It's so impressive.
It is. It's got to be hard to be consistent like that and think of all those little details. and have it make sense for that long,
Yeah, like I don't think I've ever seen an author be so logically consistent in something so thoroughly. It's very impressive.
No, you haven't read any Sanderson yet, have you?
No, well, I've read Mistborn, and I yes, but it's not as complicated as I know he can be.
Yeah. Stormlight Archive is significantly more complex, and he does a good job with it too.
All right, so yeah, she is the beach, so she can't leave. They're one in the same, and she has to stay to ensure the extinction entity. So I love that she's basically, well, like he says, so you're going to be alone, and he starts crying about this, and if you think about that, Sam used to be alone on purpose, and that's all he wanted. But now the thought of someone he loves going through that just is emotionally devastating to him, because he knows how important it is to connect now, and to be alone is death. All right, so then she finally explains her motivation of all this, because this is like the missing connection of like, okay, did she want humanity to survive? Did she not want it to survive? Why was she working with Higgs? And it all is explained as she was trying to hasten the last stranding because she got tired of waiting. Thought that people wouldn't mind if she just ushered in death real quick. But she
just get this out of the way real fast. No big deal.
But she realized that like every extinction is an opportunity, because from the last big five, it forced life to find a way, as Jeff Goldblum would say.
Life finds a way.
It's exactly right.
Is that Kermit the Frog or Jeff Goldblum? Oh, wait,
it's
Eric.
It's Kermit the Goldblum.
Right. And so she finally understood that, maybe it's either, well, there's still the two choices of like, maybe I bring in the last stranding, but if Sam, who is at the center of all of this Death Stranding starting, if he decides, because he's the only one who can decide, to allow life to persist, that life would become stronger and more resilient because of this fight to prove that you still want life.
Yeah, I liked this part of the conversation, this part of the exposition a lot. I thought it was super interesting. Amelie mentions, she says that the Big Bang was a fluke, and that much matter and antimatter colliding at the same time should have canceled each other out, but somehow a little bit of
an imbalance.
A little bit of matter survived and was able to birth this world and everything that we know in it. And she wonders if maybe the extinction events are all happening because it's the universe or some cosmic whatever trying to bring balance back, because we never should have happened in the first place. And I was like, man, that's some heavy pontificating. Like, that's none of this ever should have happened in the first place, so the universe is trying to bring us back low, which is a crazy thing to think about. So I thought that was a really interesting thought.
That's like sitting on your couch smoking a bowl, type of thing.
Whoa.
Like,
what
if we were already like, what if
shut
we
up,
were
science bitch.
Yeah. Science is wrong sometimes.
Science is a liar sometimes. It was because she was explaining this imbalance at this part while I was rewatching. I was like, oh, she also later explains that Sam repatriating caused an imbalance that it's trying to fix. And that's why she needed him on the beach to restore that balance in order to allow the last stranding to finish, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering what she was talking about there, and yeah, I think that tracks.
Yeah. All right, so she pushes him into the water. He's naked for a minute. Allusions to when he was a baby, I guess, because she pushed him into the water and he was naked at that point. And he washes
he can
up.
only bring things that are important to him. He didn't care about his clothes. It's whatever.
But then he washes up on his beach and he has clothes.
I know. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, after
It would
the,
have been a really
after
funny
the
scene
dead
if
man
he were
incident,
naked.
I'd be wearing clothes all the time too. I don't want to.
It would suddenly be very important to me to always have clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he washes up and he's fully blue on his beach with his outfit on. But the outfit has a red stripe. I didn't know if the red stripe was like made out of chiralium or his blood or something like that, and that's why you see it. They don't explain.
So it's just the red stripe, Amelie's red dress, and then the flesh tone of the BB doll. Those are the only things in color.
And also,
Shannon, didn't
you have a theory on the light waves of how, like the rainbows are missing blue, and the blue's the only thing on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
Different
yeah, I've explained that a few times. It's because well, Scott was the one that found it, but there is a log that says that light bleeds out of our world through the seam, and that's why you only see blue at this level of beach, and that's why I was thinking that Amelie's beach has a bigger seam and lets more color through. So yeah, I've said a couple times.
So I wonder if that relates to the only being able to see red and the flesh tone.
Yeah,
well,
which is interesting because it's the opposite end of the light spectrum.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think it could just mostly be like calling out a symbolic thing, because it would be impossible to retrieve just those two frequencies of the light spectrum at opposite ends without getting anything in between.
Right. Is it supposed to be like a life and death kind of thing? Mm. Is that what you're talking about, Tucker?
Yeah, I mean, in a much more elegant way. It's interesting that there's these opposites that are existing in the same space. Especially where you're dealing with different choices.
Right. All right, so he has a baby doll and he pushes that out into the water. I assume this is the baby doll that he was technically using to go to Amelie's beach, so it's him symbolically saying, I can never and will never return to her beach by sending it off into the seam. And then he looks over and he sees the gun that she threw down through the seam. Her seam. Assuming that's how... No, is it a seam? Because a seam would connect to the real world. She's really... throwing it into the water, but it's really just a beach folded on another beach that it's past. I don't really know.
It's a beam, a beach seam.
Yep.
Or a siege.
Or a siege.
Or a bridge.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So this is where like they go into a ton of exposition. You keep having to run off for like 2 minutes straight before it's like, here's a little more exposition.
Yeah.
Which is really fun as one of the final chapters as far as pacing goes.
This part of the game I like to play things handheld. I was playing on my iPad via remote play because I was like, I didn't want to sit in the big room. I wanted to sit in bed and just finish up what I thought was going to be the last like 20 minutes of the game. And I was like, I had played because I had just fought Higgs, and I was like, oh, I bet like it's gonna wrap things up now, and then I'll be done. And it's like 3 hours later. It's like 2 a.m, and I'm just sitting in my bed, like looking at my iPad, just like, is the game over yet? Like, so the first time I played this game, I did not remember a lot of what happened because I was basically asleep and just trying to get through it. But this time, I enjoyed it a lot more and paid more attention and understood what was going on.
Right. So I've already explained a lot of what she says here about how her and Bridget are the same person, and but she does say like her name is Amelie because Am is French for soul, and a soul that's a lie. So it is clever, but she spells out her name in the air with chiralium. It's got to be a reference to Tom Marvolo Riddle, right? This is a Harry Potter thing. And him
Probably.
Revealing that I am Voldemort. I am Lord Voldemort. Like
Kojima is secretly a Potterhead. Yeah.
Who of us aren't? Am I right?
Yeah.
I've explained this before, but I do think it's fascinating that when Harry Potter was coming out, everybody loved it universally, and then like it went kind of dormant for 5 to 10 years, and on the other side, it became a female only IP, and for some reason, like I'm sure we all are fond of it still, but it is for our wives.
Yeah, my Liz in particular is a very big Harry Potter fan. She loves it. Yeah, she has almost as many Harry Potter Legos as I do other Legos.
Yeah, that's like the only present I ever get Heather for Christmas, her birthday. It's just Harry Potter.
This Harry Potter Legos. Yeah, it's great because there's always more of them. It's less like, what should I get? It's great. They just released 5 more Harry Potter Legos. I'll just get all of them. Yeah.
Is this something that you relate to as well, Tucker? That this is not present in my home.
Oh yeah. So I just bought my wife the big giant Harry Potter Lego castle for her birthday.
Nice.
She has played Hogwarts Legacy. I haven't even touched it. She's read the books 10,000 times. We just had our daughter's first birthday, and she was insistent that it be Harry Potter themed.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
it was Harry Potter themed. So yeah, it's.
I am once again the
This
odd
all
man
sounds
out
very
here.
familiar.
Yeah, if I bought,
Maybe it's an elder millennial thing that you're missing out, because it was for our age.
yeah, maybe so.
don't
Did you all like wait outside, like camp out for the books and
Yes.
everything? Okay.
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
the 4th to the 7th. I think I discovered the series in the 3rd when it had already come out.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't read any of them until well after all of them had been released.
Yeah, once they started making movies, I just figured I didn't have to read them anymore, and I stood by that.
I often talk about how I haven't physically read a book up until this year. And the last one that I had read was like the 7th Harry Potter book. The night it was released, I stayed up all night and read it in a single day. And then I never touched a book for 2 more decades.
Books are dumb. Yeah, my 4th grade teacher prescribed books aren't dumb. My 4th grade teacher prescribed the Harry Potter series to my parents as a desperate attempt to get me to read anything, because I just like ADHD, and I was always doing I liked to draw, and I was just busy doing other things. But my parents were worried. They're like, Eric doesn't ever read. Can he read? Is he okay? And so they gave me, and I ate Harry Potter up. I loved it. I read it like crazy. So that and The Hobbit. I loved The Hobbit. I've read The Hobbit like a dozen times.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's not an amazing book as far as like structure goes.
But I love it.
It
It's
is
so
very
good.
nostalgic and charming if you just take it at face value.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So during all this exposition, some other stuff she talks about. America had its first void out after starting research. So I think, I don't know where they explain it. I think how I am to understand this, she was trying to connect the chiral network because she wanted to be able to reach into the beach's depths to understand all data that has existed to be able to prevent the last stranding. And at the Manhattan Project, they had their first BB, and they didn't understand what they were seeing, and a doctor reached out and touched this like BB umbilical cord whatever and caused a void out that blew up the whole island, and they had to start over. And then Sam was the first official one that survived. Well, he didn't become a BB, he became a person. But yeah, and it was after that, she does say that after Sam was repatriated, that was actually when the Death Stranding happened. So he was born, and then that imbalance of life and death from him being a repatriate is what broke the balance of life and death, and then it caused death to be stranded in our world and for BTs to be trying to reclaim them. And so it was actually Sam repatriating that caused this Death Stranding to happen.
Which is like, what a crazy knowledge bomb to have dropped on you right at the end of the game. It's like, oh man.
Yeah, that was a big reveal. I thought that was cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she this is where she explains that she thinks extinction might be the key to overcoming complete annihilation. So it's a Thanos thing. She wants to snap, her finger and cause people to fight for what they have left. So it's really like, I'm going to kill a bunch of you so that you'll survive and be even better for it. You should be thanking me.
You're welcome.
It is legitimately probably, after 20 years of the MCU. How long has it been out? 2005? 2008? Yeah. First
Iron Man came out.
So 15 years. 17. Thanos is
RDJ
definitely
has aged like a champ. I didn't realize it's almost been 20 years. That's crazy.
People just get sexier with time, and he has that it factor, and it's not fair. I'm gonna age like a
Shan's
prune.
mad that he can grow a beard.
He really can. It's very cool. All right, good for him. It's a good facial hair. It works for him. I love that. Like, he just did a goatee, and it happens to look exactly like Iron Man's. He is Iron Man, right? Like, he was born for the role. He looks exactly as he should look for it.
Yeah.
But I know that like Stan Lee had said like had complimented. It's like this is Tony Stark. There is no one else. Complimenting that as well. And there are a few people that have done that so perfectly, and I think Charlie Cox is one of them, as we've talked
Charlie
about.
Cox is a fantastic Daredevil.
He's so good.
Mm-hmm. Everybody else is okay. All right, so this is where she alludes to, like, she pulled the trigger twice that day. We see that later, but essentially during the flashback with Cliff, we see that she reaches out and forces John to shoot, and she shoots twice and accidentally shot Sam. And that's when she had to run off, find his beach, look forever, found him, gave him the T scar that he has, which I realize is symbolic of, well, it's the cross for resurrection, but it's also a cross because it's representing Sam bridging the the bounds of life and death. So
it's an intersection.
Like that's why he chose that shape.
Yeah.
Crossroads.
So this was another thing that I guess we'll get, no, never mind. We'll get into that a little bit later because I think it talks about it more in detail in a bit. So
yeah, this is the moment that changed Bridget / Amelie forever, was realizing that was a mistake and that she had to change what she was doing. Although they continued sacrificing BBs after this to connect the chiral network.
I didn't see it as it was a mistake. I need to save this child. I took it as more of a selfish, like, I need this for utilitarian purposes. This is like a piece of equipment that is really special. I gotta do my best to get it back.
No, because when she repatriates him, John says, you realize he can't be a BB anymore. And she's like, that's fine. I'll raise him as my own. He'll be a regular person. But repatriating him forced him to not be mechanically viable to create the chiral network because he was his cow was essentially severed forever from the beach. Yeah. But am I misunderstanding what you're saying?
Well, I mean, I guess a little bit of just not that he's going to be a BB, but that there was still some value in Sam from a utilitarian standpoint.
She didn't know she was going to cause the last stranding by repatriating him.
Well, I understand that part of it, but just to me, from a character standpoint, it would make sense that it's this, okay, I accidentally killed this BB. I'm not going to completely change how I feel about BBs and all of that, and all of a sudden, because this one stillborn baby is out of its, or not stillborn baby, this one BB is outside of its pod, I'm all of a sudden gonna raise it as my own. That seems like a really big character jump to me to make in that moment.
I don't know, if I witnessed something as terrible and tragic as what she just caused, I would probably realize, oh, that's such a mistake, I have to change who I am within the next 5 minutes.
That was
but maybe I'm
scene
still
too,
capable of greater growth than you, Tucker.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, I don't know, because she does still continue to experiment with BBs and to create BBs, and so,
yeah,
I don't know.
But I don't know, the way that they were going about it by killing Cliff to do it, like, I think there is, if you just had a still mother with a BB and it's like, okay, well, there's no father present, there's nothing crazy about what I'm doing now, like, maybe that allows her to justify it. I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, you're kind of right, but she does change from this moment, because you see when she's Bridget and she's running around, she's like, shoot him, John, and saying all these crazy things. Like, she's a darker, creepier person than she is afterwards.
Yeah, and I guess to me that change would make sense happening as Sam grows up and as she's caring for him as Amelie.
But this is the moment she chose to care for him.
Yeah.
See, and I don't know if I buy that part of it.
Okay. Well, I think that's exactly what they're saying, but yeah. I don't know. Okay. Let's
Kojima, as one of our 10 listeners, let us know.
Meet us in the comments. Hideo Kojima is out there typing them now.
Yeah.
All right. So also, so he hears the voiceover again, like the gun still has a role to play, and he tries pulling it on himself, and I think that they then have Death Stranding director's cut pop up, and it's like, well, nope, the story continues. Psych. But it's like,
Title
this
screen,
is how
like
the original
an hour
played out.
before the game is over.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was weird.
Also, it's empty on this beach, but you can shoot her on her beach, so she didn't let the bullets pass through the seam, I guess.
Just
They
the
weren't
gun.
special enough.
She forgot to care about the bullets, only cared about the gun.
Classic.
She also
technical
explains
mistake.
that she kept bringing Cliff back, and the reason was that she wanted Sam to understand that he's not alone, and he was never abandoned. So I feel like she was just looking for excuses to get him to go one day longer, when he, as we think from Higgs, he alluding to like he maybe had a death wish, and so she needed to keep pushing him to the moment where he would finally make this choice and take it out of her hands. So yeah, that's why she brought Cliff back, and maybe it was also to give Cliff some resolution that he needed, but she says it was for Sam essentially. We also see on Sam's beach the big 5 extinction entities floating in the air, and did y'all wonder why they were there on his beach?
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that. Are they the extinction entities, or are they like your 5 closest friends that you've made, like the people in the room?
So they are extinction entities. They wouldn't have been humans at the time that the big 5 happened,
Right.
but they are projections or encapsulations of the big 5 with the philosophical and construct of the world as we understand it. So while he's on the beach, it's like the mind is wrapping itself around what it understands these things to be,
Sure.
philosophically, because a beach is made out of your own understanding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can buy that, but are we sure they're the extinction entities, or could it be the people who were looking for you on your beach?
Well, because how many people were looking for you? It's what? Lochna, Deadman.
It wasn't Dead
Die
Man.
Hard Man,
Yeah,
Heartman.
we would have noticed if one of those was Dead Man.
Yeah. It would have been bigger. Would have had
I didn't
weird
say
glasses. Would have pulled you into a shower and had to have a weird conversation with you.
Can I take a rewind point here on?
Sure.
Just I want to revisit what I was saying because it hit me. Is I think we're both right, Shan, on Bridget / Amelie's motivation.
Consider.
Bridget doesn't have a soul. She doesn't have a ka, so she's allowed to be more cold and not caring. But Amelie, being the ka, at that moment, she has a soul. She feels remorse, and so I think she, viewing them as 2 separate characters in this moment, it's okay. Yeah, she regrets what happened, so she's going to try to find Sam to help him and start caring for him. And Bridget doesn't. She doesn't care because she's ain't got no soul. And I think that's why growing up, Sam has always despised Bridget and loved Amelie. Is because I think there's this caring aspect.
You felt some coldness from
Kaha.
Bridget.
Yeah.
There could be something there, but to not dissect it now, you would also have to remember that Dead Man didn't have a soul, and he ends up learning how to connect in love through Lou being his tether to that feeling. And we also see Mama technically didn't have her own soul and still cared as a mother, but you could do some hand waving there to say that it's because she had a ka through her BB.
Well, and we're not saying that Bridget's not capable of it, but that it would definitely make it more likely for her to be more cold and calculating.
And I guess for me, it's not a character jump because they're 2 separate characters with 2 separate motivations here.
They're the
Even
same
though they
person.
are the same.
I
Well,
mean,
even though they're the same person, but being the ka and the ha, they can have different motivations as they've been.
they're
separated
literally
for
the
so long.
same person. Do we need to go back to that part?
Well, no.
They
I guess what I'm saying
can't
is
have separate motivations.
You
They are
never had your
literally the
heart
same.
and your head want 2 different things?
Yeah, I feel
No,
like that's
I'm saying that like
I've
Bridget
watched your
maybe
heart and your head want 2
manifested
different things.
different. Bridget may have manifested different things because she was still in the real world trying to live out those goals in the world as she could fulfill them. But their motivations, their goals, like who they are, their personalities, they're identical. They are the exact same person, just living on two different planes of existence.
Okay, then so why does Sam like Amelie and not like Bridget? If they're the same person, have the same
because again, like
would act the same.
Because he ties everything that Bridget did to the moment that he was broken off of bridges, like a decade or so ago, around the time he lost his family. And so he doesn't hold Amelie accountable for that because he thinks Bridget is the one who did it. I mean, he was a little mad at Amelie at the beginning, but he moved on from that because he still primarily blamed his mom, who eventually is the same person, but he's kind of gotten over that by the point that he makes that realization. All right, nobody's going to agree with me on this. They are the same person.
I mean, I know that they're...
I'll have to stew on it. I don't know if I completely buy it.
Okay.
But I can see where you're coming from.
Like when Hartman kills himself and goes to the beach, it's not like he suddenly is kind of different. He is the exact same person.
I don't know that I care enough about this particular point to have a strong...
Shut up, Eric. You care as much.
I digress. All right. So I think the EEs were there on the horizon because they are seeing this is the final ultimatum of is the last Stranding going to happen or not? And they are kind of just silently observing cosmically what's going to happen and ensure, they want to know, is the last Stranding happening or not? So that was my guess. Anyway, then you hear London Bridge, but played out more fully. You see the feet stomping on the beach, similar to when BTs are trying to chase after you, but it's actually, in this sense, the beach, and those are the people in the real world. So like it works on both planes equally, of like an otherworldly entity walking and encroaching on the same space as the opposite world. I don't know. It's hard to explain.
I thought that was interesting because we've seen BTs manifest that way in the real world, but we haven't seen examples of real people trying to reach a beach but not quite being able to. And so I thought it was really cool that visually it was displayed the same way as we see BTs, is because it's just it's an entity not tied to the world, but they're like reaching out and trying to manifest into that realm, but can't quite get there. And so you get the chiral handprints and the splashes and very cool.
Yeah. At this point, we see Amelie in white. So we've seen her in red and black. And so why do you think she's in white?
Just wanted to change her dress. Just got bored of it.
Could be that. I think that at this point, it's like she's kind of cleansed herself of that part of her, the whole, well, or at least, I don't know, now that she's sealed off, it's like she had a hand in cleansing herself and redeeming herself from bringing about extinction. And so it's a representation of her purity in this decision. All right. Yeah. So at this point, she tells you, don't give up. You're still connected, points off to the extinction entities. He walks into the seam and Deadman pulls him under, holding BB. That's fantastic. He's fine that you're naked at this moment. Sam tends to become naked in the seam here and there.
Just Deadman trying to take another shower with Sam.
Yeah. All right, so there's a blue BB in his throat. Also, I didn't realize this at first. When you travel through your throat, you also travel through BB's throat this time. So usually you go in, BB's in color, and then you zoom back out. Oh, yeah. But this time you go through BB's. I couldn't find an answer about this. I actually think because he didn't die with BB at his side in that way, because he had just repatriated from Amelie's beach with the doll, then he's on his beach and he doesn't have BB. And all those times we see BB in color, it's because he had been killed with BB at his side, and that acts as his bridge back to the real world. But in this case, BB isn't dead at this point, so why is it blue? And I actually think because you go into its throat, I think this is Sam as a baby. I think this is what repatriation looks like if you are, like maybe when he repatriated as a baby the first time, it was like he went into a baby's throat and inside was another baby or something like that. Like, I think this is
just babies all the way down.
I just think this is a visual representation of himself because it goes into his throat. It's not like he's entering Lou's body at that point.
No, that's
but nobody would.
Thought. And all babies at that stage, they look kind of the same. Like, and so that's I hadn't considered that. It's an interesting possibility.
Yeah, AI would not agree with me on this, and I threw some curse words at it. I was like, it misunderstood what I said like 15 different times. I was like, I'm so done with you. I'm pretty sure I'm right, and what you're telling me is. It kept breaking off into different things. I'm going home. No, it's like it's because he was repatriating from Amelie's beach down to his own beach. I'm like, he's already at his beach. That's not what I'm talking about.
You're not listening, you dumb pocket robot.
I'm going to go invent my own interpretation.
I'm going to go make my own AI, and it'll have blackjack and hookers.
All right, so we come back. Die Hardman is president. He has a kipu on. He removes his mask and he starts speaking in platitudes.
America, we can do it. We're the best. Let's connect. Yada yada yada. Like
rock, flag, and eagle. Am I right, Charlie? He's got a point.
No, he doesn't.
All right. So Sam gets tired of this ethos nonsense and he starts walking off, and Deadman grabs him and realizes he doesn't really have aphantphobia anymore and it doesn't bother him. So this is starting to tie up like, okay, her beach is sealed off. Dooms, is it escaping the world because she can't send that off into the world? So are all the mechanics of the Death Stranding kind of suspended for now? And so he doesn't have phobias? It was either that or he had a literal healing from this journey, but I think it's because Dooms is gone.
Yeah, that was my thought too, is that his phobia was tied to his dooms possibly, and now that
no, they say that you develop phobias.
His phobia is tied to his dooms, and now that the extinction entity has been stopped, that's leaving the world or has left the world, or and it's evidenced later in the game. They walk out Sam walks out into the rain and doesn't turn into an old person. Is it just rain again? Is time fall gone?
Yeah. I didn't catch that like the first two times. I was like, oh, wait, this is regular rain and he's just in it. I just barely caught that. Also, I have to save that for the end. Anyway, Deadman says they didn't have a doll to bring him back, so they tried to use Bridget's umbilical cord because that would be connected to the beach, but she had already cut the beach loose as soon as she sent him through the seam, so they couldn't use that anymore. They looked for a month in the real world, but won't say how long they were wandering the beaches. So this is where Hartman had explained, if you're on the beach, time doesn't pass at all, and that's why when he's in the seam, he has to use the chiralium hourglass to understand he still has those 3 minutes left and how much of those 3 minutes he has. But they could have been looking on the beach for Sam for years. Die Hardman reminded them of the revolver and suggested that they use it to find him. I didn't understand why Die Hardman would know that this is connected to him unless like Die Hardman understood that this is the revolver that shot him as a baby. Maybe it's the hematic rounds that were in it that contained his blood. I didn't know which one they were referring to, how the revolver could get them to his beach. But we also find out that Cliff and Sam share a beach because they both died at the same time. So it could also be it can connect to the beach because that's how Cliff died.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And it was like a really traumatic event too. So not just at the same time, but in an emotionally charged traumatic event, right? And it's usually that makes the beaches get intertwined.
Yes. Yeah. And death in the same location helps.
Yeah.
So Mama was the one that found him because her soul's already there, but hasn't moved on to the next life because she still has a Ha connected through Lochna. So anyway, Fragile sent Deadman and BB, and then now they're all connected through their Keepa that's woven from Strand's DNA that is made from the umbilical cord. So that's cool and creepy. I love it. I love
details like
the full. Yeah, right. I love the full circle that they point out. It's like the revolver that started the Death Stranding also saved Sam. So that's fantastic. And they go back to this reference, the stick became a rope. The revolver being that, and they put this was the quote when they started the game. It's like, since the beginning of time there was always like a stick and a rope, and using that as, and Higgs says this too when they're fighting. It's like he's the stick and Sam's the rope or something like that. Like he keeps trying to force this metaphor.
Yeah. Or one is a tool of as a weapon, and the one is a tool of connection. And so I think that they're in this story they're at opposite ends, and so it's interesting. I like the symbolism of having this weapon be used as a strand.
Right. All right. Deadman hugs Sam, and while he's doing that, he whispers that Cliff's wife's name was Lisa Bridges, so trying to keep that a secret, that he's found all this information out. And Die Hardman was appointed to president after his active duty. A warrant was put out for after Cliff's death, but John had been found dead. And so he hid his identity, I guess, throughout a dead corpse that he stole from the morgue, and then hid his identity for a couple decades with the mask. So I think, President Strand made him the fall guy, like that excellent Ryan Gosling movie.
That was a fun movie. That was fun.
Yeah, it was a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
So much charm. All right. Both him and
Emily Blunt.
Emily Blunt. She's one of my very favorites right now.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
Her, Rachel McAdams, and that girl from Silo, Rebecca Ferguson. I think those are and Emma Stone. Those four, if I had to pick four, because that's the number that I ended at. All right, so he says he killed Cliff because he loved Bridget. Did this mean he literally was in love with her, or just loved her? Because he later says he also loved Cliff, and I don't think it's alluding to him being bisexual, but it says he loved him as much as he loved Bridget.
Yeah, I think he felt passionately and wanted to follow her and believed in what she was doing, and it was that kind of like an admiration kind of a love.
Yeah, he's the kind of guy
That's the vibe I got.
Latches on to a leader, like needs a strong authority figure in his life. And,
like
the thing that I value most is loyalty, so I'll go wherever loyalty is.
Wherever they value loyalty.
That's right.
Yeah. Kind of strikes me as that kind of person.
It's like when D'Angelo shouts at Dwight and he becomes all circumspect. He's like, oh, yeah, I respond to strong leadership. This is Die Hardman. He was a born follower.
Yeah.
And he becomes very turned on by it if he's alluding to anything like that. He loves powerful women. Let's see. Ron also says he loves powerful women. And Leslie
foods.
Acknowledges that he has attended a shocking number of WNBA games.
This is Ron from Parks and Rec.
Yeah, this is from Parks and Rec. Everything I do is the attitude of an award winner because I have won an award. It's that episode.
That one's so good.
Yeah. I love that, like, John is so high on his own supply that he's like, well, if Cliff left me alive, it must be because he thought I'm a fantastic person and I need to keep fighting. And he's sobbing through this because he's like, I don't deserve what he gave me. But that's the only logical conclusion he can come to because that's what he thinks of himself.
Mm-hmm.
Being a little over dramatic is what he's being. He's falls to the ground and is sobbing. It's like, dude, take a breath.
Come on, man. Weren't you just made president? Groveling, going prostrate like that, not a flattering look for somebody of immense power.
Everyone deserves to be vulnerable, right? But I don't know that.
Not the leader of the free world.
I will say though that I think that Die Hardman's facial capture and his facial model is maybe the best in the game. I do think that the actor was maybe hamming it up a little bit. But Die Hardman's
for sure.
face is I don't know exactly what it was, but the facial animation was spectacular. Every time I see it, I'm like, man, it's just really, really good.
Yeah.
So Sam says, I don't agree with what you're saying, because how can, maybe he sent me back from the beach because he wants me to keep going. It's like, no, nobody wants an asshole who doesn't fear death and thinks that they're immortal and all this nonsense. So just kind of gives up on Die Hardman and gives him the gun and says, Amelie said this won't help you, hear her words, and runs off. And then John thanks him because essentially he thinks of this as forgiveness too.
A little self-centered, that guy.
He heard exactly what he wanted to hear. Yeah, after this, Deadman brings Lou, and Lou has passed away and says it's against executive order to remove him, and he can't do it because he works under the president, but maybe Sam can, so he's going to take him off the network. He's going to loosen his cuffs so he can take it off at the incinerator, and he's like, whatever you do there, that's your choice. There's a possibility of 70% catastrophe if you do it, but if you think that risk is worth it, that 30%, then see what happens.
So I was a little bit confused on how Lou died specifically. I think he said the decommission order finally came through or something.
No, Lou had passed away and they had to send a decommission order to be able to take him down. Okay, maybe I'm getting that wrong.
I thought that it was like the stress of pulling Sam back from the beach.
Well, this is months later.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's true.
Oh, I just figured it out. It's because the beach from Amelie is gone and Doomsday is gone, and it's like it's not connected in that way anymore, right? Is that possibly related? It started to pass away because the last stranding is stopped?
Maybe.
Maybe if BBs are getting their life support kind of by being bridge babies between both sides, and it stands to reason if their connection from the side of the dead has been severed that it might be difficult for them to survive. Maybe all BBs died.
Yeah, well, it might be I guess there were a couple others.
Yeah,
but we never see them.
I just brought up the video of it, and Deadman here is saying, "Poor thing was never truly alive, not in this world at least." So I think you're right there. With some bonds being severed or whatever, that just kind of cut him off that way. I don't know. And then, right after he says that, he says the decommission order finally came through. So
maybe I could be wrong about this though, because they were trying to create BBs before Sam, so Sam hadn't repatriated and started the Death Stranding. So BBs could already before that be connected to the life of the dead. But I don't know. Maybe I'm reading into this. I want it to be connected to the mechanics of the last Stranding stopped, but BBs can still exist. I don't know. He could have just passed away.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyway, Sam and Deadman are incredibly fraught over this. They both love BB. I think this is Guillermo del Toro's best acting in the game. Is when he's yeah.
I mean, it's a low bar to clear, so I'm not surprised that he clears it here.
Yeah, but him expressing his affection for BB, holding the pod close, and basically saying, other than Sam, this is the only thing he's really connected to. And that's what actually awoken his ability to connect to people in the first place was Lou. And so for him to be so emotionally broken over this is pretty painful. So I think his acting is spot on here.
Does that also explain why he's so kind of weird and awkward through the rest of the game?
Yes.
Has he been acting really well this whole game? And he's playing somebody who talks really weird and in an almost disconnected way. Yeah. I mean, was that really on purpose? And he hit it out of the park, and we've just been like, oh, he's awful at acting. It's just that's exactly how it should have been done, and it was perfect. And once he did connect, he seemed like a real human now.
Yeah.
I was a genius.
Yeah.
I was fine. When Tucker revealed to me he hated his acting the first time, I was like, I didn't see that it was bad acting, because I explained it away to myself. I did hand waving. It's that's literally his character, is he doesn't know how to connect to people, and he's socially awkward. And maybe Guillermo del Toro, maybe they kind of wrote the character to what the most he was capable of, but for me it didn't feel discontinuous with what he was supposed to be doing.
I don't know.
But Tucker disagrees. It's just bad acting.
It's still a big pill to swallow.
I think it's bad acting, and yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. It's definitely his best work in the game.
Okay.
But I would say it's not. It's, on par. I won't say it's above par for general well acting.
After this, he sees Fragile, and she says she's going to continue the Fragile Express. She also reveals she didn't kill Higgs, so that's super cool. Higgs is going to be around for the next
it's
game.
like your whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of called that too.
But this also demonstrated. Okay, you knew that.
You can never trust an off-screen death. You know.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay. Why did I trust? I never trust an off-screen death, and I just let it happen this time. Oh, he got me. It's like, I guess in my head I thought, well, why else would he be shooting the gun? And for her to walk back from that, it's like, okay, well, something was resolved. But yeah, I just let it happen, and it never happens that way. Dang, I'm stupid. Sneaky, as Gollum would say. Right? Not really. Yeah, so she gave him the choice to remain on the beach or to die. And Sam says she doesn't like to break things, she likes to fix what's broken. And he's referring to himself at this time. And so I love the growth that he was able to experience, like vicariously through her journey, and learn from that and use it for himself. I just thought that was well done.
Wait, sorry, I was looking at some notes here. What were you saying was really well done? Because I had some pretty big issues with this interaction with Fragile.
Oh, not this interaction. What I liked was the writing of how, like, clearly she is very nearly Deuteragonist level in this story, as far as on-screen time dedicated to her story. And if you ask yourself, why is her story so important? It's because it was one of the most important character arcs for Sam to learn from, was learning how to live for the time you have. And then now he has learned that she didn't kill Higgs. And that also took growth from herself that he is also learning in this moment. So I just like the way that she is learning and growing as a character and has her own journey is how Sam is able to learn and grow in his own. That art is absolutely instrumental to how he arrives at the end of the story the way he does.
Gotcha.
But I'm sure you just don't like the acting and stuff like that, right? Like, her acting is
No, it's not that. It's just, I remember in our previous recording when Sam talks to like the whole team and he's talking about connection, and it was a really, really nice speech. You know, it was meaningful. It was moving. It was like, oh man, Sam has grown a lot. You know, he's really learned to care and see the value of connection, and this is awesome. And then here when he's talking to Fragile, he's just like, I might as well be dead. I felt like that when we first met in the cave, and I still do. It's like, wait a second. Like, I thought Sam was a changed man, and here he is just talking about, like, I don't care about anything still.
He's trying to unlearn his lesson because he's broken about Lou. It's his last test.
I was going to say, yeah, I have a thought about that too. It's when a character completes a journey, and they don't have that journey to anchor them to their purpose anymore. It's really easy for them to try to slip back. And so you see him trying to slip back and be like, nope, I don't have any connections. And then Fragile immediately calls him on it. She's like, you don't believe that's true. Like, and so it does seem out of character. I feel like if you look under the surface though, it's pretty normal for someone in Sam's position to try to be like, okay, I'm done now. I'm going to go back to whatever I was doing before.
That makes a lot of sense.
This time getting out of, he wants to go back to his comfort zone, his safe zone. He decided to disconnect from everybody to protect himself. And this is, again, he's in a vulnerable place and he wants to escape. Like, that's how he escapes.
Yeah, right. They don't explain this. They don't really explain this, but he just gave up Amelie, like one of the greatest connections of his entire life and someone he deeply loved. He gave it up for humanity, but he gave it up for Lou. And for Lou to have been taken from him immediately after this big decision, he's never felt more alone. And he wants to he wants to unlearn his lesson because he thinks that none of it was worth it, and he's gonna go back to the person he was because he had it right all along. But it's in him challenging that and trying to test his faith in humanity one last time that he's rewarded with Lou coming back to the world of the living.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know why I didn't really kind of connect those dots there, but that makes a lot of sense why he would kind of regress in a way like that, or at least have some denial in a way. Grief is weird, right?
Yeah.
And it affects you in a lot of different ways, and for whatever reason I wasn't taking that into consideration.
Also, I noticed Fragile cries here, and she cries differently than when it's Doom's. I think that they animate it differently. So just good for you, I guess. Kojima going way too far with detail.
Literally, no one would have noticed if you used the same crying animation.
I think when it's the chiral allergy or whatever, it's just like coming out of one eye or something, right? It doesn't pool in their eyes and come down at the same time.
It just kind of like falls out. Yeah, it's like...
Yeah.
Also, I think like is it all both the inside ducts when it's like chiral allergy, and here it's like one kind of on the inside, one in the middle, and like it's not pooling in the same way to your point, and that's why it like looks different.
Yeah, looks like actual sadness, right?
Yeah. All right, episode 14. I hope this doesn't take too long. We've seen most of these flashbacks, so I think I can kind of run through it.
Yep.
But you take Lou to the incinerator, and it plays the most beautiful song I've ever heard in any media ever. Especially with how much meaning is in it. Lou's or BB's theme is like, you just hear it as whistling before this. Here it's like full instrumental, incredible overtures, and lots of swelling at some of these emotional peaks. And the chord progression is so fantastically representative of the feeling of Sam's journey. So it's like, as it's going through this chord progression, you're like, I remember when I felt that, and then I remember when I felt that. Like, that is how the way the chords progress is exactly your reflective of your character journey through the story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just like it is so powerful.
Yeah, and I loved how it was
writing.
Basically the same journey that you made at the very beginning of the game with Bridget. And
he's good at the full circle thing.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed this moment and wanted to savor it. So I just barely hit forward on the controller and walked like the whole time. I didn't rush through it. I just wanted to enjoy the scenery and the walk and the music. It was a beautiful moment. I really liked it.
I love when a game can affect the way that you play it based on how it's making you feel. A lot of times in games, like video game characters, you sprint everywhere. People don't do that in real life. Sometimes you walk, sometimes I did the same thing. I walked slowly up this mountain because it felt like a somber journey for Sam. It felt like he's not going to be sprinting the whole time, and it was a somber journey. And the music, I agree with Shannon Scott, and it's just some of the best music I've ever heard in a game. It's a fantastic theme song. But I love that when a game makes you feel that way, you're like, it's like, oh, it would feel disingenuous for me to sprint up this hill and like get there as quickly as possible. It's like, Sam would take his time, and so I want to take my time. And I love, like you said, Scott, how it's like the same journey you took with Bridget at the beginning. It's like your first proper courier mission, and it's mirrored in this last mission as well. Very cool.
Yeah, and this time you're taking somebody that you deeply care about, and you're so sad that you've lost. And at the beginning of the game, you're taking Bridget, who we've talked about. You don't have much of a connection with. You don't really like them as a character, or as a player that much. You don't really have any deep connection with them, and this is just the opposite of that in every way.
Right. So we've seen all of these scenes at some point, and it just plays them out linearly. But like when you get to the incinerator, you connect to Lou, and you start having Cliff flashbacks again. Now you realize you're really just this whole time have been having flashbacks about your own life. This was never BB's life that you were seeing.
Yeah.
And so I did kind of wonder, it's like,
so
if he
cleverly
has passed on,
Yeah.
maybe he's not. I think the fact that he's able to connect at this point and have that feedback, as Igor explains at the beginning of the game, or is it? No, it's Deadman. That it shows that something's still there in order to cause that feedback, which could give him hope. Anyway, so you connect, you have a flashback, and you see President Strand with the mask. You see her talking to John. So this is going through the whole sequence of like, Cliff's wife is a still mother named Lisa Bridges. So no relation to the Bridges itself. That's named after Bridget. It's just a coincidence. So this is actually kind of clever, right? Later, Cliff realizes you're Sam Bridges, and he makes that connection because he's been renamed Sam Bridges coincidentally, even though that was his mom's maiden name. But it's a clever twist, I just have to say. But also Cliff calls Lisa at one point Lisa. I ended up watching the movie. It is a very weird movie. So she was named after a movie called Lisa. It's a Charlie Kaufman movie who did like Adaptation, and I think he worked on Her and Being John Malkovich. He's a very weird guy. He does a lot of surrealism. And so I was like, okay, so why is Kojima inspired by Lisa? It's like kind of a throwaway line. It's not a real name. And Lisa in this story, she's like this character, like this old horny man feels like he's disconnected from the world and from his wife, and he wants to run off with this person who has a disfigurement, and he thinks she's the most beautiful person he's ever seen. He sees in her what she doesn't even see in herself. And they also, at one point, it's a made-up thing, but he calls her Lisa as a portmanteau for anomaly and Lisa. And I think that's really what Kojima's getting at here, is that Lisa is an anomaly for her situation that caused this connection with BB. But also, at the end of the story, Lisa says she looked up Anomalisa in the Japanese English dictionary, and it means goddess of heaven. That's not a real thing. It doesn't mean that. But I think he's also using that double meaning of Lisa is his goddess of heaven. Someone who is unconventionally and asymmetrically attractive to him because of how much he loves and cares for her.
Okay.
So, yeah. I felt like I had to explain it because I wasted so much time watching that movie.
So if I'm going to spend 2 hours watching this movie, we're going to put it in an episode.
You are going to create meaning.
It's also stop motion, and it's all dolls and stuff, and you see the protagonist's penis several times. I don't.
Stop motion penis is so much more upsetting than a real one.
Yeah.
It's too realistic for stop motion. It has a bush. What the hell?
Kevin fought really hard to do those scenes.
All right. So John finds out that Cliff is the husband. He didn't know that at first. He's just working for Strand, and he's like, well, okay, this man saved me from death so many times. I have to protect him with my life because he saved me from death so many times. It's my way of repaying him. So he turns off the security and says, here's a gun. He says it's his gun. So this whole time the revolver has actually been Cliff's revolver. But he gives him back his gun that is end up used to kill him and his own child. But Cliff silences it, puts a pillow over Lisa's face, shoots her, and then runs off with BB. He's spotted by everybody, and they ended up shooting at him, and John tries to cover for him, trying to help him get away, and he ends up cornering himself, and then plays out one of the greatest scenes in cinematic history.
Oh my goodness. So good.
Yeah.
This part made me lots of things bring tears to my eyes, but like it got me really emotional. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So as Cliff runs back to the same room that he had just killed his wife in, he's now been shot, he's wounded, and he shoots the security panel to lock himself in, but I don't even think that's how security panels work if it were that
Sure
easy.
It is. Yeah.
It's how it works in movies. It's just not how it works.
Yeah. Why not?
Trying to buy himself some time, and then he ends up they end up barging in and they shoot him anyway. All right, so Sam, who can't really interact with this other world, he's trying to stop the people from shooting Cliff because Cliff is a national treasure. And Cliff thinks he's failed Lisa and BB. He's apologizing to them. Yeah, I feel like this is referencing Sam's growth and connection to Lou, and now he's like, you know what, I'm a father, I would do anything to protect my child, and I see what he's doing with his BB, and I can't let that happen, and it's going to break me if it does.
Well, this is where and then Cliff is on the floor with his BB, and there, you know, he's injured and whatever, and this is where we get that awesome line where he talks about how being a father didn't make him afraid, it made him more brave, and so we get to see that played out in its actual, like, when it happened. And that line every time, it's so great. He gives that little speech to his BB about how, you know, it's all been about him. That's why Cliff is able to do what he can do, is because his BB made him brave.
Yeah. So Cliff, he starts singing to BB the song and says he'll always be with him. And I feel like this is like maybe a metaphysical thing. Not that he would know this, but like they will always be connected through beaches. And he pulls out, at the end of the song, he pulls out the gun to point at the door. It's just so emotionally powerful how, like, especially like the music swelling beneath this moment, like it's building up so much energy. But yeah, then they all just run in and unceremoniously shoot him, and you see him on the floor dying, and he says, when I found out I was going to be a father, I was so scared of what it would mean I had to be there for your mom, you and your mom, no matter what. I couldn't just go off and get myself killed anymore. I couldn't leave you alone. And I couldn't. And John runs in at that point. I had it all wrong. Being a father didn't make me scared. It made me brave. I'm sorry it took me so long. And John helps him up at that moment. He says, don't make the same mistake. Be yourself and be free. This is the most, like, yes, consistently the most, the biggest theme of this game is connection. And then you find out that right under that, and actually more powerful, is the theme of fatherhood, and he was just waiting to like shoot you in the gut with it. and as I said before, like, he's the paragon of bravery as you understand it, because he's fought in all of these wars, but he's realized that was him being terrified and like not caring about his own life, and this is where he realizes this is what true bravery is doing anything and everything to protect someone with your life. And also, just I want to talk about this in the bonus episode about like what we sacrifice to be fathers, because I went through something similar of like, I don't know if I want to be a father. I don't know if I want to sacrifice the life that I enjoy and have now, and then to get to the other side and realize it's the only thing that's given me meaning, deep meaning in my life. I want to tear that apart.
I'd love to get into that. Sounds good to me. I very strongly empathize with that. Yeah.
I think we, like Tucker, I know that you similarly, it's like, I don't know if I want this. And now you have Jovi, and she's gorgeous and joy of your life. But like, we didn't know that before we'd made that decision. And it's like, and this is like the real meat of the theme, where it's like, he didn't even have to consciously make the decision to be brave. The paternal instinct, as it is awoken inside of you when you become a father, it's a bravery that you can't even explain. It's just something that you're endowed with when you adopt that mantle. But yeah, okay, we'll save some of that for
bonus
later.
Episode stuff. We could talk about that for hours. That's great.
All right, so he's taken BB out of the pod, and Strand screams. She's a really dark person at this moment. But
yeah, not a good look. Not a good look, no. Bridget. Yeah.
Yeah. John pulls out his gun, pulls it at Cliff, and says, "You have to give the baby back." And Strand's like, "Just shoot him! Just shoot the man!" I don't like her at this moment. But Sam runs in between in trying to protect Cliff, and that's when like everything suspends. Everybody goes into blue filter. You see a little bit of chromatic aberration. Just like, I love the direction of this. You get a close up of Sam, and then suddenly you just feel like the background just shifts, and you're like, oh, I'm out of place right now, and I'm in some other liminal space beyond the one that you were already technically in.
Yeah, and it happens without your conscious self really noticing, but then your subconscious self does, and then Cliff starts to talk, and you're like, who's he talking to? And they're like, oh, he's talking to Sam. He's talking to me.
Yeah, so this is where he's like, he says, they told me your name was Sam Porter. I assume he's talking about Amelie having told him, and maybe Die Hardman, maybe Higgs, I don't know.
Maybe.
But they told me your name.
It seems like this is like a current version of Cliff that's talking to Sam now, not the version of from the past that just died.
No, for some reason, this is the moment where their chiral resonance has fully synchronized, and so they are finally able to communicate to each other, even in this technically a flashback, probably a projection from the beach type situation.
Yeah.
He says, it said your name was Sam Porter, but you're Sam Bridges, my son. So he's saying the same thing he said earlier in Vietnam Beach, but he finally actually just says, you're my son. My bridge to the future. Yeah.
He says one line too, just right after this, that I think is so great. He says, my son, my bridge to the future. Without you, I was just like any other Cliff, a dead end. And I just love the double entendre that like, oh, there's another fun little nod towards why his name was Clifford. It's so that Kojima could have this one line and this one like philosophy that, Clifford felt like a dead end, like a cliff. Let's name him Cliff. Like, I love the different levels of like seriousness and silliness that Kojima uses with his naming conventions. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah,
I'm glad you brought that up. I loved that. I love that line.
I also love that Cliff married a Bridges in Lisa. Right?
Bridges and Cliffs, yeah. That's
funny. She was to bridge his connection back to the world or in some way, but also now Sam gets to continue that legacy for him. But yeah, he says, just like any other
cliff, a dead end, no way forward. Just a dead end without a bridge. Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. There you go. Yeah. We got there. Oh. I love that.
He was nothing but an obstacle looking at the world people like you were trying to build. Dividing people was the only thing he was ever good at. And then he stands up. But not you, Sam. You bring people together. You're their bridge to the future and mine. And the music just crescendos again. Just perfect directing.
There's one moment which is, I think, a great example of fatherhood and just parenthood in general. Is something that I've experienced particularly with my mom, but with my dad and both of my parents, that at this point, this is like what we've seen of Cliff. Cliff is mortally wounded. He's about to die. And I know that this is like probably a projection from the beach. So a different version of Cliff maybe, but like in this moment of dire desperation, and Cliff is still like helping Sam in this moment. He's not focused on himself. He says, come on, Sam, stand up. And I just I experienced that a lot with my parents, particularly with my mom. And like, when it doesn't matter how down they are, they've always got the energy to come to their kids and say, stand up, you can do it. Let's do it. And I love that. That was beautiful.
It's also like similarly as powerful as in The Lord of the Rings when Aragorn says, you bow to no man, and everyone bows to the shortest people to have ever existed, right? And at that moment, they are the tallest beings, especially in Minas Tirith. They stand taller than anyone in the kingdom. It seems as powerfully evocative as that moment. So he hands over BB Sam to Sam, and he's like, "Is this me?" I don't know. It's funny. He hands over the dog tags again, like he did in Vietnam. Yeah, how does this work? Am I this thing? And he hugs him, he embraces Sam and he's shot from behind. And yeah, Bridget forced it. She shot twice, and that's when she's like, I have to go save this BB from the beach because I made him. Oh no, mistake.
Accidentally murdered it.
Oh no,
I really
mistake.
That mistake. I like this part too because there is shoot, I had a thought and it just slipped out of my head. Oh yeah. So every time you can cut me something down. So I like this part a lot too because I had the realization again that once you realize that Cliff is Sam's dad, that every time you encountered him on the previous beaches in those war zones, and he's always saying, "Give me back my BB, give me back my BB," and you think he's after your BB, but he's not. He was looking for Sam. He thinks he is, but it's like, but in reality, he's calling out to Sam. He's, give me back my BB. He wants Sam. He thinks he wants the BB that Sam has, but he actually is in reality calling out for Sam. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, puts a new spin on like things that came before that I wasn't really thinking about at the time.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah. Then you're, at this moment, you're pulled away into the seam. You see a floating Dreamcatcher for some reason, even though you wouldn't have it at this point, that your BB is just a symbolic projection. And you see upside down whale BTs. Like everything that floats in the seam is upside down. It's kind of, if you blink, you miss it, but it's funny that they do that. And then you see a black tar version of Cliff floating around. Mm-hmm. And then Sam is stranded on the beach. I was curious, okay, if he's actually dead, why is he on the beach and not in the seam? And it could be hand waving stuff. I didn't know if it's because the Death Stranding hadn't started yet, if that was related to it. His caw can't move on. I think it's hand waving. Because if they're both dead, they should be in the seam.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that it just is more visually. I agree. It might just be some hand waving. It's more visually striking to have Amelie come and find Sam on the beach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe he was. I don't want to make anything of it right now. It could be us just making stuff up. So that's when she finds him and heals him. This is what broke the boundaries of life and death, caused the Death Stranding to start, and then it jumps into Sam's mouth, and then there's full color and there's a doll in there, and I think it's because, well, no, at this point you're at Sam's beach and Cliff's beach, you're not at her beach, but I don't have that down exactly. Yeah, so she hugs Sam and Cliff is watching from a distance in the seam. Usually BTs are like in the water, they're above the water, they're trying to prevent these bodies from escaping the seam, but this could be more hand waving of like, you know what, why don't you go ahead and go see your child. But it's also kind of tragic as like Amelie's taking Sam for herself and he just has to turn and walk away because he's accepting that he's lost.
Yeah
Right, she says, do you want to go home? Let's go home, I know the way. So we've seen this a bunch of times. Yeah, and as Sam floats down into the seam, we see the astronaut keychains start to float away, and you have a sort of Star Child moment, like Space Odyssey 2001. I'm pretty sure that's what this is referencing. Am I wrong?
It has to be.
Yeah, you zoom across the galaxy, and like, if you haven't seen Space Odyssey, every man needs to see it. It's one of the greatest sci-fi films ever made, but it's super weird. It makes me deeply uncomfortable to watch it.
It's a great recommendation. Yeah.
But there's a Star Child, and it's an embryonic baby that's floating in space, and it's like, okay, he has to be referencing this. All right. Yeah, and then okay, so he's back in his pod, and John stares at the BB, and Bridget's no longer wearing the mask, and John says his days as a BB are over, now that his connection to the other side has been severed, and she's fine with this. And John asks if he should be decommissioned. So I think this is what decommission means. It's not he lose dead because he's decommissioned. It's decommissioned like, let's take him offline and incinerate him. I think it's the full definition of what they mean by that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think you're right there.
Okay. And so she says the only thing left to do is to remove him, and she'll raise him for herself. All right, so then we flash back to Sam, and Sam's done the same. He's removed Lou from the pod, and he's burning the cuffs. He's now a fugitive, I guess. That's got to play into the second game in some fantastic way.
Yeah. He's
off-grid, and he has broken an executive order. He might be a fugitive.
Who knows? That's maybe a bonus episode. We can speculate about what the second game is about.
You know what? I just heard one of like the only things that I've had spoil for me from the next game is the setting, and I'm furious about it. But
don't say anything. I haven't heard. Yeah.
But it kind of points in that direction. All right. Good for you. All right, so Sam then tries to revive Lou, and he's rubbing his belly and stuff, and you see Chiralium start to escape, so you feel like the stakes are increasing. It's like you're running out of time before Lou passes on. Mm-hmm. And Sam ends up embracing Lou, similar to whenever Unger embraces him. It feels like that is the greatest... I think what they're saying... Kojima is saying here is that like a hug is the greatest form. Like we see handshakes and stuff like that, but hugs are where your chiral resonance has fully synced up, because we see that when Sam embraces Unger, you think he's having these flashbacks because of the BB in the pod. Turns out it's because those two are connected, and when they sync up, he suddenly has these flashbacks and stuff like this. So when Sam embraces Lou, it reunites and synchronizes their souls, and it brings Lou back to the world of the living. But Lou has stolen his Kipu, and it is now his toy.
I thought about that and how he holds Lou close and gives him a hug, and something about the chiral energy of the Kipu maybe helped revive Lou.
I think I just got it. He's holding the Kipu as a representation that Amelie helped him return.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
So Amelie's final gift to Sam was helping him have a child, and he's telling him that, or Luis is.
And this is particularly significant because we find out that at the beginning of the game, Sam lost a child, and so like that's why this is such
Also, maybe he was embracing him up against his Kipu. I don't know if that's related.
I just had the video up, and he was not. The Kipu was not there.
Oh,
yeah, so I think you're right. Like, he got sent back with the Kipu. Like, I think you're right that Amelie was involved on the other side and sent him back with it. Almost like either the mechanism or a calling card, in a way. I don't know which one.
Wow,
that is so sneaky. I assumed he like had it pinned on his...
Yeah, but we never saw him with it. I just assumed it.
No, it's not there.
Amelie sent him back.
Yeah, I didn't think of that at all, but that makes sense.
Okay. And you know what? Is Lou a repatriate now? Is this going to cause the Death Stranding to come back on?
Death Stranding 2?
Electric Booga-Lou? But yeah, as soon as Sam repatriated, it was soon after that the last Stranding started. So she could have just started the whole thing over again. But it's worth it for Sam.
But then he immediately walks out in the rain, and it's not Timefall
that's
anymore.
What I'm saying. Well, that one has stopped. She said soon after he repatriated, the Death Stranding started, so it hasn't restarted yet.
It makes sense if there's a second Death Stranding.
They call that
Death Stranding 2.
Yeah.
Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, it's not just
I'm not sure.
Convention. It's actually purposeful.
Because they were still worried about getting Lou to the incinerator soon enough because he was gonna go necro, right? They were worried about that.
Yeah.
Which means there are still some things in effect with the original Death Stranding. Like not everything has stopped, right?
Because BTs are still there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. The BBTs are still there. But the seam has been sealed off. So the Death Stranding is still in movement, but the seam that's causing the timefall and the inverted physics, that has been temporarily stopped. But there are still dead that walk among the living and stuff like that. So like it's not fully off, it's just suspended.
Okay.
and the connection to the beach is temporarily severed. I think so. But I love this shot.
Is it just them not speeding it up? So now we're just back to a normal.
Yeah, it's still going to happen.
Pace of Extinction event instead of Amelie / Higgs trying to put it in motion faster.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
But then you get this great shot of fantastic hard lighting coming from behind, and Sam is standing there embracing Lou, and you get the floating BBs around. I know, Tucker, this broke you. I'm sure it broke everybody.
I don't know why. Like, I've been sitting on this since I finished. I, like, just out of nowhere just became super emotional just in this, like, still shot of it. I still don't know why. Like, it's one of the, like, few times when I have been hit so hard by something and been like, I don't understand the feelings I'm feeling. And I don't know
what is happening to me.
Yeah.
Like, I recognize that I'm having them, but I can't trace them to the source, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I love the
this is
meaning
why I
here.
love this game.
Yeah.
There's these moments that, catch you off guard.
I love the meaning here that, like, all of these BBs were presumably sacrifices in the attempt to connect the chiral network, and failed attempts, or maybe were in commission for a while and then were decommissioned, but none of them were able to continue on to the next life. So they're stranded here on Earth, and so they'll never be reconnected with their parents in the way that they always yearn to be, either in the land of the living or the dead. And they see here, it's like these floating BBTs are celebrating that one of them got to do it in a way that they hadn't been able to. Yeah. And so I think that's why it's just such a gut punch and so powerful. Right, so then Sam walks into the rain, and it's not timefall, so that mechanic is suspended. You also see a rainbow, and it's right side up with all of the colors there.
They did it. They fixed the rainbows.
The physics are restored. Yeah. And the sun comes out, and you hear birds tweeting instead of a bunch of crows trying to, as the harbinger of death,
Yeah.
So it's a complete change of how we started this game. Is everything's restored temporarily, because I think Amelie just kicked off the next one, but for Sam.
Yeah.
And then during the credit scene, Sam reaches out and touches a picture of his wife and his child with Bridget, and then the child reaches out and holds his hand back because, and so this is him like, I yearn for that loss that I had, but it is restored. And he says, Lou, and then says, Louise, twist, it's a girl, right? But spoiler. I also love that it has to end with them holding hands, because other than hugs, he said he often illustrates that holding hands is like the next closest thing, which is why we see the motif of hands throughout the whole game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's it.
That's it. Beautiful.
Anything else that's beautiful that we left on the floor here?
I mean, I don't want to talk about too much because I want to have some fun things to discuss in the bonus content. But I just, as a whole, I love this game. I think it's beautiful. I loved it even more this time, trying to understand the more finer details and the mechanics of how the things in this world work. And I just some really incredible storytelling and world building that is basically peerless. Like, fantastic.
From a thematic perspective, this, I think, is one of the most important themes probably ever around connection and the human experience, but especially now. I think it's never been more relevant on the need to connect and everything we've talked about in these episodes. So I'm excited to dive deeper into the kind of overall themes of this game, because I do think they're so important for everybody to understand and experience to get the most out of this life.
There's a growing number of books that I've read that are difficult to recommend, but I've marked and written down that they're important books to read. Like, they should be read by people, even if it makes them uncomfortable. And this is the first game that I've played where I've said, like, thought this is important. This game, and the mechanics may not be for everyone, but I think everyone should play it. I think it's an important piece of media, and I feel I'm really glad that this. If I only get to do one of these with you guys, I'm glad it was this one, because this was a fantastic experience, and what a great game to do this kind of thing for.
You are welcome back anytime. This has been great.
Yeah, I think we'll just kind of like give you a list of our tentative plans in the future, and it's like, you know what, I want to do that one, and I have the availability in the time that you might do it. We'll just like kind of keep you apprised, because we did that with another guest. He's been back a couple times. We love having him. We just love these deep connections with people that are passionate about stories.
Right.
And is willing to do it for 15 plus hours on a single.
Yeah. We know that it's not a small time commitment. Yeah.
No, I love it. It's been great.
And like, there's like no possible way that like probably 99% of people who play this game, they'll get the most important things. Nobody is going line by line, every word for word, and dissecting it and saying, does this check out? What am I supposed to learn from it? And so that's why I genuinely think we're subject matter experts about this in a way that almost no one else will ever be. And the most rewarding thing,
everyone else,
like the stuff I get beyond, I think the most important thing is dissecting theme and relating it anecdotally to our lives in a way that helps us grow as people. But beyond that, I am thrilled by us finding revelations of things as we discuss them. And like that is rewarding on a personal level of like, I made that connection. I know how this works. I understand this world that this artist is trying to demonstrate to me. It's just like, I don't think I'll ever get this deep about anything else. And it's, I see since we started, this is genuinely changing me because I'm actually internalizing. I've played these games before. They have never affected me like they have now.
Yeah. It's kind of funny that I'm enjoying this as much as I am in my later years, because in high school, I hated English class so much because I hated that we were it always felt like we were trying to create meaning from some author's words that they may or may not have put in there intentionally, and I just thought like, yeah, it's just like, come on, maybe it's just some lame story that he thought up. Like, why do I have to try to find meaning in this? And now I don't want to watch movies or play games or something where I can't take some kind of meaning and help me improve somehow as a person, either understand myself better or understand somebody else's viewpoint about the world better. I eat it up now. I crave it. And this was great. It was just the perfect game for that kind of thing.
Yeah. All right. Anything else? Parting thoughts? No? Eric probably shouldn't talk anymore. He's going to be completely mute tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm sure you've noticed my voice has got a little more froggy as the episode has gone on. I've been talking too much.
We've noticed, but I didn't want to discourage you from talking because, again, it's the best, Eric.
No, you're like a Frank Reynolds childhood friend, Froggy. You unzipped me, Froggy. All right. Well, okay. So that's going to do it for us today. Please like, comment, subscribe, and you can find us wherever you find podcasts. Please listen to Eric's Indie Corners on Thursdays and join us for the bonus episode. We're going to pretend that we're deep, poignant people, and
we're so smart.
We're deeply introspective and worth listening to. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye, y'all.
Outro. Bleep-a-doof, bleep-a-deep, bloop-a-dee-blow.